Ladies and gentlemen, let's all be upstanding ndio tuweze kukaribisha wageni wetu kwa makofi, makofi. Karibu sana bwana Minister, karibu, makofi. Makofi. Karibuni sana. Karibu sana. Our ambassadors, welcome very much to Seattle. Karibu, jisikie nyumbani. Karibu sana. Thank you very much. Tuendelee kuwapigia makofi watu wageni wetu. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Karibu hapa Seattle. Tumejaribu sana, tumekuwa tukiwangojea ndio tukifika tuweze kuzungumza pamoja, so feel at home. Welcome. We are waiting for you and we are very glad to receive you. Thank you very much. Tunazidi kumkaribisha mgeni wetu, waziri wetu wa mambo ya nchi za kigeni. Amesafiri all the way from Kenya to be with us here today, na tuweze kukua na yeye, to be able to participate in everything. Thank you very much. We may all be seated. Let's all be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very brief evening. So I will be calling upon the chairman of the Northwest community, Mr. Kimani, to come forward, greet and welcome our guest. Mr. Kimani, mpigieni makofi tafadhali.
Thank you, MC. Giving honor and glory to God, I greet you all in the name of Jesus. Amen. Are we blessed or what? Are we blessed? We have our CS here in Seattle. Who would have thought of this? Our God is a mighty God. Amen. For this evening is historical for us. He has brought to us one of our Washington sons. That's who he is. Because he was one of us at one time. So without further ado, because I know our time is well spent, and I know you would like to hear me speak, tonight is not about us. It is about our CS. So in that case, I will immediately go to our Consular General in LA, Big Ted, to come and introduce us to our visitors tonight. Let's put our hands together for Big Ted. Amen?
Thank you very much. I think we have done all the introductions that we needed to do. Quickly introduce my colleague, Balori Tisheru from DC. Ula alikuwa na swali ya DC, huyu ndio utauliza. The lady who had asked the DC question also introduced the ambassador for Kenya to the United States, Ambassador Amayo, makofi kwake. Yeye anasimamia sisi sote. And of course our Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs and the Diaspora, who's also here with us. I think we'll go straight into the crux of the matter. Cabinet Secretary, we have met with your people, and I know you very well. You want to hear them. You will tell me, mimi nataka kusikia hawa wakiongea si wewe. So I think what I'll do is I will allow, we had done some notes. My dear, do you want to come and just quickly go through? Okay, good enough. What he decided to do is he'll make his remarks and then we go to you. All right? Okay, so Ambassador Mayo, who is my senior, will please take this and then invite the CS.
Thank you very much, Big Ted. Mheshimiwa Waziri Dr.Alfred Mutua, fellow Kenyans, ladies and gentlemen, hamjambo. I'll be brief because first to apologize for the long delay. It was not intentional. It's just because Waziri had a very long flight, 15 hours and another 2 hours flight, and here he is. He has not even taken any time to change. But credit goes where it should be. Let me acknowledge Mr. David Kinyanjui. David Kinyanjui is a friend of Waziri. He's the one actually Waziri spoke to, and the night before yesterday, they agreed to have this session. Waziri was saying he'll be in town. He would be glad to have a conversation with the Kenyans, even if it is at a very short notice. And so don't blame me much. He didn't know the confirmation was until just Monday night. So he tried yesterday to reach out to you through the Northwest and other contacts. And I'm happy, Waziri, that they have turned out in large numbers, with some of them having a notice of less than 10 hours. You'd like to hear Waziri. This is his first visit to the United States as the Minister of Kiingereza, the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs. He was in the US in September, but that was for the UN General Assembly. So it is an honor and privilege for Waziri to start his meetings, engagements in the US from Seattle itself. Waziri, I was here in December, but in the middle of COVID. Ambassador Gashiru was also here a few months ago for the Q2 function. What they will tell you and reiterate is the distance. Distance from LA and distance from DC, particularly on consular matters relating to e-passport renewal and ID and other related matters. So the request has been for consideration, I know you have them, for a consulate in Seattle to be able to address the concerns and issues for the Kenyan population here. Waziri, this is the home of Microsoft, the home for Google, the home for Amazon, the home for Boeing, hata Starbucks ilianza zote hapa. And so, yes, in terms of distribution, as I was briefing you, this is the fifth in terms of what? Distribution of Kenyans in the US as per the official statistics of the US government based on 2019 statistics. Starting, if you give me just a minute, with the Texas having the largest number, projected at that time to be 20,000, followed by Minnesota, 14,000. The third one is 11,000, California. The fourth one is Massachusetts, 8,000. And Washington State comes with 7,800, followed by Maryland with 7,600, and then Georgia 6. Those are the official statistics. Those are the official statistics of the US government as per those who registered as Kenyans. So, as I conclude, we have this pressing issue for services being closer to the people and affordable, because it takes 21 hours to drive from here to LA, 2 hours flight to LA, 5 hours flight to Washington DC, and is an expensive affair. Kwa hivyo, bila kupoteza wakati, ombi langu Mheshimiwa Waziri is for you to address your people. Some of the summaries you're already getting in the course of your remarks, you will have answered most of them. But we have a patriotic group of Kenyans that are able to meet together, whether there are challenges or opportunities, even when there are deaths here. Kenyans always rally together to be able to address issues of those concerned. But let me not preempt much of what Waziri will be talking about. Lakini, thank you very much for responding. I know some of you are going on duty in the next 30 minutes. Lakini, musikie Waziri, the rest we can be able to take from that end. Last but not least, my two colleagues, Ted, who is new here, the Consul General in LA, and Ambassador Gasheru, the Deputy Chief of Mission based in DC. Asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki. Mheshimiwa Waziri,
Bwana asifiwe. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm very happy to be here. You know, I was a small young boy teaching Sunday school at a church called Mutua Baptist Church back in the 1980s and 90s. We were going to church with that gentleman called Alan. Alan simama watu wapone. That gentleman there, nimeona yuko hapa, nilipotolea huku. And you know, unajua nyumbani unasukumana tu na maskini. Na maskini unakusukuma leo na unasukuma kesho. And missionaries came, and I was one doing the translation. You know the translation of those days? We used to live in a place called Ruta Satellite, Kawangware. So, unazungusha around, you translate for them, they say, you know, Jesus came with miracles. Naambia watu wanasema Yesu alikuja na miraa na koo. Hallelujah, hallelujah pia, you know? And they were so impressed by this young boy who was so chap that when they came back, and they happened to be from all over the US, but when they came back, they got me a school and a scholarship to go to a place called Billings, Montana. But the lady who decided to hold my hand was from Spokane, Washington. So on the 11th of August 1991, when I was around 20 years old, I finished from 5 or 6, I came to the United States. And I remember I came with classmates I'd gone to school with, one called Dorothy Malinga, another called. So we came in the same aircraft, we landed in New York. Dorothy was a bit confused, so I opted to take her all the way to our hotel, to our school in New Jersey, Edison, New Jersey. I got to Edison, New Jersey, left her there, went back to New York airport, got a flight, came to Seattle, connected to Spokane. By that time, I had lost my voice. And I landed at about 9, 10 o'clock, about 9 o'clock at night, and I was confused because the sun was still up. And I lost my voice for about 2 to 3 days before I regained my voice, because I'd had this long flight. When you come from living a very poor life, alafu naingia ndege kwa mara ya kwanza kwenda ng'ambo. And you know, my dad had taken me to the Komba and had bought me, you know, suruali ya mtumba, shati ya mtumba, koti ya mtumba, underwear ya mtumba, socks ya mtumba, viatu ya mtumba, zimetoka ng'ambo. So nilikuwa nakuja na nguo za ng'ambo huku ng'ambo. And that was my introduction to the United States. I lived in Spokane. I went to school in Billings. I later moved on to finish my education in Spokane. I went to Whitworth University, Whitworth College then. I went to Eastern Washington University. I came and worked here in Seattle. You know, I wrote for the Seattle Times. I worked here with Channel 4 News. I did some work for PBS. And so I know my way around here. The lady who took me in, I called her my American grandma. She was called Rosemary Jones. And she's old, and I lived in her house for so many years. And I came to the US not so long ago because we lost touch. So she used to write, but she's old, and then she stopped writing. So I wrote, she's not writing. I would call, her phone is not being answered. And then her family, I would call them, send messages, they were not replying. So I went to look for her. I went to her house, and the house was still there where I used to live. The bedroom was still there, but the house was locked. It was clear nobody lived there. So I went around, I went to the home of the children, there was nobody there. It looked like things had changed. And I wrote them messages, and then I went back home. When I got home, after 1 week, the daughter wrote to me, said, oh, they were away as a family, blah, blah, blah. But grandma is in a nursing home. And incidentally, she has dementia. And she doesn't remember anybody else apart from Alfred. I'm the only person she remembers. So she'll talk about everybody, but she only remembers Alfred. You know, so I managed to call and talk to her, and she doesn't know her daughter, but she knows me. When I talk to her, she calls me. So I landed here today at, it was what time? It was in the afternoon, and I connected straight to go to Spokane first to see her. So I went to see her, and she remembered me. She's 98 years old. And she was very happy. And she told me, no, this room, because she's in a room with a couch, she said, I can sleep on the couch, you can sleep on the bed. Don't go. And so I spent some time with my grandma, my American grandma, Rosemary Jones, and we bonded. And she has put 2 photos on the wall. So she has a group photo on the wall of her family, herself, her daughter, son, grandchildren. And on top of that, she's put a bigger picture of me and her, the 2 of us on the picture. So that is one of the reasons why I'm late. Because I spent time with her and I took the last flight I could take after spending time with her to come and meet you. And so I came straight and had to go to the hotel, at least comb my hair and come here. So I can meet you. So I hope you forgive me for coming here. Thank you, Balozi, for the very good remarks and the welcome. Thank you, Balozi Pia. Thank you, Balozi, for keeping this. I didn't come alone. I came with 2 gentlemen. Came Professor Frederick Iraki, is my advisor, professor, and Patrick Bidi is who worked with him in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Nairobi. They have not seen water. Water has not hit their bodies since Nairobi. I'm the only one who got to change my shirt. Even the people alitoka Nairobi, we do abadilisha tu viatu nafikiri. So we just decided this is more important for us to come here and talk to you. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy because I decided that I want to come to Seattle. I want to come to this area because this is the area that actually made me. This is where I started work. This is where I studied in Washington State. So why don't I start, I asked myself, why can't I start my diaspora meetings where I started? And that's why I came to Seattle. Because it is always good in life to have a trajectory and to do things with meaning. And I thought it's good to do it here and start properly. Instead of starting other places, mali hata sikujua, hapa najua Pike Place Market, najua nini, si ndio? Ndio tukiongea na nyinyi naelewa what is going on. And I know Kenyans who live here are very good Kenyans, work very hard. Kenyans who live everywhere are good Kenyans, you know, most of the time. And so I'm happy to see you in large numbers, and it's a weekday. So I'll not be very long. First of all, nyumbani kumeanza kunyesha. Which means 2 things. One, the grasses are turning green, and it is a season that now when the grass is green, that is the season Wakamba wanauza mashamba. And number 2, it means that now some rural roads are impassable. But that is why now we've got the bottom-up approach, where we want to start building our country, not for only the people who live in the cities, the ones at the top, want to start in the villages, going up the way they did in this country and many other developed countries. So I bring you salam from our President, William Kipchirchir Samoei Ruto. He's very keen, and that is why we added the diaspora docket to issues of foreign affairs. Because the diaspora plays a very important role in building our country. I was talking to Balozi here, and you know remittances from the diaspora are our chief foreign earner. Unakumbuka tukiwa tunasoma tulikuwa tunaambiwa kwamba our chief foreign earner used to be tourism. The tourism, kahawa, tea. No. The amount of money we get from the diaspora now is more than what we get from selling tea, coffee, and tourism combined. Which means that you should have a stake in running the government of Kenya. Because you're contributing to the government of Kenya. You're contributing. And that is why we have this ministry that is looking at the issues of welfare. But we don't want you to just be sending money home. We want you also to be facilitated so that as you live here and sending money home, you live comfortable lives. So that your issues are also addressed in a good way. My advantage is I have lived in the diaspora, but I've also worked in government. Naelewa serikali. Nilikuwa huko, when I left here, I went to Kenya, taught, I went to Australia, did my doctorate, I went to the UAE, I went back to Kenya, became the first government spokesman. I made Cobra Sport, etc, blah, blah, blah. So I know Kenya vizuri. So I understand. I worked with Mwai Kibaki. He's one who told me, wacha kurega-rega. Toka huko kuja hapa. So you're talking to somebody who understands both lives. Working for the government of Kenya, working in the private sector, making money, and also Meleo. So I understand issues of the diaspora. I understand the government, I understand business. So I'll tell you several things very quickly because it's very late. Number one, as the ambassador has said, the diaspora in the US needs better coverage. And so I am considering, and we are considering, opening more consulates. We are considering for the people of the Midwest, opening a consulate to serve maybe in Chicago or Minnesota to serve the people in the Midwest. We are looking at the South to a place like Dallas or Atlanta, where they can also be served there. They are served in LA by a consul there. We are looking to the West, and that would be Seattle, opening another so that we can better serve them. One of the biggest issues that I've found out are consular issues. Issues of passports, issues of identity cards, issues of birth certificates, getting your documents and all that. So one of the things that I'm going to put into place is bring biometric machines here, so that now, even if you don't have, even if maybe we don't put everywhere, but we'll have one that is roaming, have several, so that you are told for this week, let makaratasi yako yote na familia yako yote, they register everything. In a week's time, you can get your passport. In a few weeks' time, you can get your identity card. And I'm going to do it the American way. I'm going to do the Western way, whereby, if you want to get your passport in 4 days, you just need more money. If you're willing, you want to do it. You do it. If you have a chap-chap, unatoa pesa chap-chap. If you want us to go regular, 3 weeks to 1 month, unalipa hiyo, unaenda unangojea. Like you can't have in 1 week, unajua Kenyans wait until the last minute. Ukitaka yako ikuje chap-chap, you pay more money, inakuja chap-chap. And life continues. Because you don't want to be kept on hold here as other things are continuing. So we'll be able to take that issue of consular. Number two, we want you to be able to remit your money home properly. I don't know how many here have built homes at home. Na umetumiwa picha, na nyumba imejengwa, na iko sawa, na unatuma pesa, hata furnishing imewekwa, hata jiko imejengwa, hata ikapikiwa chapati ukatumiwa picha, just to get home and find it was your neighbor's house, not yours. So we're setting up a system so that now if you are constructing at home, you are dealing with professional architects, you are dealing with people who can actually give you authorization that nyumba imetoka foundation, imefika kwa dirisha, with certificates, legally binding. So that when you're sending money to a contractor at home, and we get you contractors who can build for you with your money, it's deposited in Kenya, therefore you don't lose any of your money. That thing is also, we want to open channels. We know you have bank accounts, but we want you to put your money in Kenya. Weka pesa nyumbani. Hiyo nimeongea kama Kiswahili, put your money in Kenya. Weka money, in other words, deposit your savings in Kenya. Because we are looking at an infrastructure bond, a diaspora bond, whereby you can put your money in Kenya, the government can borrow that money as a bond, and then the government can turn around and build a factory, or build roads, or build airports with your money, and you can go home you can get, unaweza kwenda unasimamisha gari kwa hiyo highway, unashuka na unakanyaga highway kwa nguvu na raha, kwa sababu unajua pesa yako ndio imejenga hiyo highway ukiwa diaspora. Because if you look at the growth of countries like Singapore, look at China, they are built by direct financing by their diaspora. And I believe that you can be able to build Kenya. And we are going to facilitate you to build Kenya. So consider, we're going to open networks of how to save. Because, unajua, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you not a story, reality. Mko hapa. Mmeishi hapa miaka 20, 30, mingine 15. Mungu akikuita leo, hautaki kuzikwa hapa. Unataka kuzikwa nyumbani. Because all along you are living here, but your plan was to retire at home. Sindio? Yeah. So, why can't you be banking and have your saving plan? Here we take a 4K, 401K. Why can't you have your saving plan at home with a diaspora saving plan? So that instead of investing here, you're investing at home, your savings at home, ukienda nyumbani, your pension will be at home, where money is safe at home in Kenya. Unanipata? Yeah. Makes it easier for you. Unaenda, unapata pesa yako, na your money is growing and building the country, which is critical. Education. I know a lot, some of you work here, especially in the medical field. You are a nurse here, you are a doctor, you go home, they all these madogodanyo, you have to do, I don't know what, you have to do what, you know. So we're going to make it seamless for you, talk to the board so that you can quickly transfer your registration, so that you can be able to also move from here, go back home, and be able to work in Kenya. So I'm answering all your questions before you ask. Because the idea is for us to serve you, and so that you can be able to live a comfortable life over here. It happens once in a while that a Kenyan gets arrested and gets locked up. One of the things that I'm doing is that people make mistakes. And at times Kenyans are locked up because they can't get any legal aid or legal support. We are opening units in all our embassies and consulates to be able to serve Kenyans. So that when a Kenyan is in trouble, we've got somebody from the embassy, consular services, or not, international service ya serve Kenya wakiwa wameshikwa. It's not consular. Legal services. So we have somebody from the embassy who is visiting the Kenyan, who is trying to get you, you know, so that you can also be taken care of as a Kenyan. Hata kama utaserve your time, we monitor ukitoka, pengine we facilitate, urudi nyumbani, ama how you get to that halfway house, how you get assimilated back into society. We don't want a Kenyan getting lost. Because unakuja hapa, unashangaa mataa, unapotea. Unajua kushangaa mataa? Unakuja hapa, umetoka huko, umetoka Kabonzweni, you know? Umetoka Kabonzweni Express, unakuja Seattle, you know? Umetoka Nyeribari Chache, umetoka Mutuini, umetoka, you know, Homa Bay. Unakuja hapa, unashangaa mataa, unasema hai baivava, haya, you know? Unachanganyikiwa na maisha, you get into trouble with the law. So we'll be able to assist you so that you can also now live knowing that every life of a Kenyan matters. And that is very important. President Obama introduced the immunity. Nakumbuka? For people who are falling out of status, people who don't have papers to come in. I am negotiating. I had a conversation with Secretary of State Blinken. We are negotiating with the American government to see how we can get an immunity for Kenyans, so that Kenyans who have stayed here for a very long time, Kenyans who have fallen out of status, who can't even go home when their parents pass away because watakuwa arrested at the care, so that we can now start a system so that you can now be assimilated and made legal Umeelewa? Without necessarily having to be deported. So that now you can actually work here and live here legally. With your social security number, with your children, the known and the unknown, wote. Hapa unafanya kazi. Yule jamaa alikuwa ananiangalia na nguvu sana na naona alikuwa so that now we can move into that one. Finally, biashara, business. Kenyans are very industrious. Na tunapenda kufanya biashara. Tunapenda pesa. Pesa mfukoni, si ndio? We like, it's good to have money. And so, we are going to set up also a section of trade and investments in all our embassies and consulates, so that you can be facilitated to trade with Kenya, import goods from Kenya, because we're going to add value to our goods. So we don't want to be bringing coffee here that is not processed. We want to bring processed coffee. When Starbucks buys our coffee, it needs to be processed for them. We add value. We want to be bringing products here, made in Kenya, added value, so that those products can be sold at a higher cost. We want you to be able to be facilitated so that you are the one who is doing that biashara on behalf of Kenya. But also you have ideas. You want to invest in Kenya. You want to be able to leave Kenya, and you want to be able to go and open a factory. You have friends here who want to go and engage in private-public partnership, because we want to use this actor, not Danny DeVito, the other one, Joe Pesci. He had a movie called Other People's Money. They want to go and use other people's money. So you have an idea. You want to build a factory. You want to build a road, dig a dam, get an investor, akuje. Hakuna mambo ya frustration, power lines, akuje, ajenge, tumpatie concession, ikuwe ni PPP. They make their money from selling the product they made for Kenya 30, 40 years, anatuachia hapo hiyo barabara, anatuachia hapo those power lines, anatuachia hapo those dams. So you make your money that way also. So think about it. PPP in those areas. Want to encourage you to come and bring filmmakers. I'm a filmmaker. And I was talking to Big Ted about, want filmmakers, want the entertainment industry, so that people can get money. And also, we want more jobs. Mimi nataka Wakenya wanahangaika nyumbani wapate nafasi wakuje huku wapate kazi. Wafanye kazi. We want Kenyans working here. So we want to work with you. Create opportunities for Kenyans who have degrees, diplomas, Kenyans who would like to come and live here, to come and work in the US. There's nothing wrong. Look at how countries like the Philippines have exported their people, and they remit a lot of money. You come, you work here, you finish your job, you go back home. Sindio? So I want to work with you together. My ministry, our ministry, because it is not mine, it's ours, it's water, is also looking at opportunities for scholarships for young men and women to come and study. So you can come and study here, so they can get the skills and the habits and everything to be able to move around, to move up in life. And many other things. I know it is late. I don't want to talk too much. Nimeanza kusikia na sinzia kidogo hivi kajedla kameanza kusetting. So I think I've covered as many things as possible. The main message is this. Kenya is different. Kenya is different. My political party that I founded is called Maendeleo Chapter. I believe in speedy development. I was able to do a lot of work in Machakos because of the experience that I had by living over here. Go transfer the skills in Machakos. Our president, his name, means faster chapter. Then you to a chapter. So you know amekuwa na meetings nyingi. He is not lazy, he wakes up very early and anaendelea. Na alishinda kura. Kulikuwa na inaitwa big state, inaitwa nini nyingine? Deep state, state capture, waka state capture, wakatereza, wakashindwa. And we got a lot of votes. After we lost votes. Niwaambie hao. Nitoboe. You know, God decides. The people vote, but God decides who should rule Kenya. And whoever is the president, who is saying, I'm in my office in Machakos. I built an office called the White House, Machakos. And I hear there's somebody amekatalia kwa gate, lazima anione. Kasema mimi naona watu na appointment, hii mambo ya walk in, walk out, we don't do, we want to be organized. So one of my ministers came and said, amemkuta kwa gate wameongea, I should see these guys from IEBC. So it's much which political time akuja akasema, my name is so and so, I'm in ICT at the IEBC. I thought I'd talk to you because in Kenya Kwanza, we have introduced a new system. We are moving from one system to another in ICT, and we were told by somebody, and we've been working 24 hours, we've been migrating people who are registered in the Rift Valley and North Kenya, and we've migrated 1 million people to other places. That means, mama ambaye polling station yake ni Murang'a, somewhere in Murang'a where Ruto is very popular, she's been moved from Murang'a so that her polling station is now in Turkana. Another one has been moved from Eldoret, her polling station is now Kisumu. So that on the voting day, they will go to vote, they will not be in the system. Already 1 million votes have been suppressed. So I went to a meeting, I told President Ruto, we called a meeting, we sent people to IBC, and we found out it was true. And people were stopped, and we started reversing. But by the time the election came, I think we had only been able to reverse maybe 200,000-300,000. So technically, we lost about 700,000 votes. So President Ruto sat us down akasema, mahali imefikia ni Mungu, maombi na kuomba kura. Na tukaomba kura. We were holding 21 to 25 rallies a day. We would meet in the morning, divided into 4 teams or 3 teams. Moja inaongoza na Mudavadi, ingine na Rigathi Gachagua, ingine na Ruto. I was in President Ruto's team. We go 2 helicopters, 2 helicopters, 2 helicopters. We go, we do 6 to 7 to 8 rallies a day to sleep in the bush. Every day. Azimio were only holding 1 rally a day. Wanachukua, wanakuwa na 1 rally, and maybe they are on the way back to the choppers. So they didn't campaign as much. And you saw, I think the only thing you remember from Azimio rally, do you remember anything? Yetu nakumbuka bottom up. Azimio nakumbuka tu, haro, haro, Azimio, Azimio. Yetu, haro, haro. You know, elections are longer. We know Diaspora. You know them, eh? You are there. Yeah. So, and that was it. But you see, competition of politics is not a matter of life and death. It doesn't matter who you vote for. What you want is government services. In countries like the US, governments come and go, but the highways still function. Sindio? The water is still there. Electricity still runs. Kenyans can come and invest like the owner of this place and do well. So we want to get to a place whereby elections are not a matter of life and death. And this is what Kenyans have shown. If you go to Kenya today, when you travel with President Ruto, the places where he's received and cheered more are actually the Azimio strongholds. Because Kenyans have moved on from that myopic political system of just following one way. Kenyans have said, we elect a government on policies, you work, you don't work, we elect somebody else. Sioni development mzuri sana. So we have never been as united as we are. The last time we were united was when Kibaki got in the first time. But now we are back, we are united. And the government of President William Ruto, nikiwa ndani ya serikali yake, nawaambia, tutadeliver. Kenya will never be the same again. Kenya will never be the same again. We are pouring into the market through the Hustler Fund an initial lot of money, several billion shillings. This end of this month, pesa itaenda, itagrow. You know, you have money in circulation makes a big difference. Eh? So money will be circulating in Kenya, and you'll see the change. All these things we're doing in the diaspora, all these things we're doing in every ministry. You know, we're holding cabinets nearly every week, every other week, because we are serious about developing Kenya. We've been left behind, and we're going to move. And also we are looking at climate change. Did you know that Kenya's power sources are basically green? We have geothermal, we have hydro, that's green power, we have wind now, and solar. About 95% of our energy is from green energy, and we'll roll it out so that in a few years' time we'll have 100% energy will all be green. And we just signed with a company that is going to be using the geothermal to produce green hydrogen, which is a form of energy which will now be selling. We will be exporting green hydrogen together with our coffee and diaspora workers to the West and making money from there. That's the Kenya that we're building for all of us. Ndio watoto wetu wakanyage nchi yetu kwa nguvu na raha, the way our fathers said. So I want to thank you for coming today. I want to thank you for listening to me and to say that you can count on me. I'm one of you. I have lived here, I've tested here, nimekuwa na baridi hapa. I know how it feels. I know the challenges. I'm in the right ministry, and I'll be able to serve you day and night. So thank you very much. Na Mola awabariki. So I will ask for a few interventions. It is now 9 o'clock. I think with purpose we can finish by 9:30. Silio? Because I know people have to go to work and others. There are people who've been standing for long. Pole sana, I know you're standing, but we'll finish by 9:30 so that we just harakisha, sio story nyingi, and then we continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for our Cabinet Secretary. Cabinet Secretary, we already predetermined some of the questions and interventions. So I'll ask the lady to just read them out, and then if it requires intervention. For those that he has answered, I don't think we need further responses, so we can save more time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Lucy Gitau, all protocol observed.
And quickly, Chairman, just come quickly. Quickly just introduce the community leaders so that we don't lose out on that. Only.
Thank you, Ambassador. All the community leaders, can we stand up, please, to be recognized? Just stand up wherever you are. The Mheshimiwa who is dealing with. All the community leaders, I don't think we'll give them the mic to say, Mr. Kirori, Anne, Mathai, Judy, Wagura, James, is all working with the Northwest Deputy Chairman, Northwest, Dr. Genduku, and Kieri, and Tony and Mary. Mary was in Kenya running for office. And we have Mr. Kirori, our Northwest Kenyan Community Treasurer. And I have all the way in the back some more members of the Northwest Kenyan Community Board. Mr. Kivuni, could you raise your hand? And then we have Mr. Madenge, and I don't know who I'm missing. Amen. Thank you for what you do for our community, for bringing our community where it is. And Lucy has the mic. So she is our secretary for the Northwest Kenyan Community, Miss Lucy Gitau. Thank you very much for what you do and for supporting our community. Thank you very much.
There a microphone? Give us the mic. All right, so we shall have Lucy just read out, then in case the CS wants to make any, he'll do that. I'll have the mic with him. Thank you, Lucy.
Asante sana. This is a question from Wakili Wajohi. In course of my practice, I encountered a lot of Kenyan US citizens who want to adopt their grandchildren for immigration purposes. This is not possible at this time. Does the cabinet intend to resume international adoption, which was banned in 2014? The US government, that is the second question, granted 317,000 temporary agricultural and non-agricultural visas. Unfortunately, Kenya is not one of the countries eligible for the grant of these H2A and H2B visas. Has the government pursued or intend to pursue this? A lot of questions were answered by our CS, and I almost thought that maybe he had my phone, so we don't have a lot of questions here. It's about consulate, and there's one about retirement. I retired in 2004 from Kenya, and my pension goes to my KCB account in Kenya. I'm told it has been transferred to Diaspora. Rosalind Kialo has been handling my case, and up to now have not been able to access to my retirement account, though had sent her all the required details. Would you please access my account?
So this is a Kenyan who's retired?
Yes.
Here or in Kenya?
I think he retired and now he's here. He retired in Kenya, now he's here.
He's here?
Yeah.
And he was sending the money home?
Yes.
Or she was sending the money home? Was been sent home? So she wants to be able to access her funds from here?
He's the one. He's right here.
Okay, you can continue the questions, then you can come and talk to him, because that's an individual matter.
All right. How about Huduma number? That is the third question. Can the CS help in US to talk to Safaricom M-Pesa to develop a platform like Wave or TapTap or Wire to enable us get a better chance, exchange rates, and direct M-Pesa instead of those middleman agencies? Our sisters in Middle East are suffering from persecution and death. The CS should do whatever it takes to develop a policy to force all agencies to be registered under the ministry and in all our high commissions in those countries. Passports should never be confiscated, or anyone should not be forced to work against her will. Laws be put in place and keep those agencies under control. Well, that question you answered. Based on number of people and distance to Washington, D.C., Nakuru Diaspora County, with leaders recognized by the Kenyan government. What cities are you visiting? And what does it have to achieve that question? What does he want to achieve other than remittances? I would like to ask predictable tax rates because of our investments in treasury bills and infrastructure bonds, etc. What is the government planning to do with the current security of the country? We are seeing clips of thugs stealing from citizens and terrorizing the country. Seattle has become a home for many Kenyans, more coming in from other states. Would it be something to consider opening a consulate? You answered that. We did not participate in last general elections as Washington people. We would like to be given a chance next time. Okay, one more question. Hi, can you kindly ask, can the government help us to have agencies to bring caregivers from Kenya? Can we have a diaspora police and a court to handle economic crimes? Which I have been a victim. Like, we have tourist police or terrorism police. From Mr. Icharia. There is a story about a Kenyan who passed away, and somebody forwarded the story. They're saying they're about to bury him in the US without his kin's consent. He originally hails from Kosirai Ward, Chemsei sub-county in Nandi. Maybe this one I can forward it to the, it's a long one. No other questions?
David. let's take those ones.
Thank you.
Do you have a different question?
It's a different.
All right, so you can, the three of you can just answer quickly. The three of you.
Thank you so much, CS. You're actually my former governor. I come from Machakos, so it's such an honor. My name is Kona Kioko, and the issue, actually why I came here is because of, we haven't addressed the issue about dual citizenship. I applied for dual citizenship in 2019. Until now, I'm waiting. I'm ready to move back to Kenya, but I cannot move because I don't have a passport. And I was told until I get the citizenship, I cannot get a passport. In 2019, I applied, I went and looked. All the applications were not found anywhere. And then now I have reapplied, it keeps saying received. So what are we doing to help people like us?
Do you have an American passport?
I do.
So you just want to get a Kenyan passport?
Yes.
You're born in Kenya?
I'm born in Kenya, I'm ready to move back to Kenya.
It doesn't matter whether you want to go back to Kenya, as long as you're born in Kenya, it is your right to have a Kenyan passport.
Exactly.
Because that's in the Constitution.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable CS. My name is Mary Mudoni, and I was buying in Tetu on a PNU ticket, Azimio. So mine is a remark. We have a document that we did, a policy that we did, the people who are campaigning for Raila Amolo Odinga, and the policy is concerning diaspora and what you would need the Minister of Diaspora Affairs to do for the diaspora people. So I don't know where we will come in because you just talked about the Azimio right here. So I'm asking kindly that you incorporate us because we want to have a strong diaspora, and remember, you cannot sideline the majority. Raila won the diaspora vote.
My name is Onesmus Masaki. My question might not be relevant, but we were told to ask any question. My question is about asylum. People who have filed for asylum and we have not got any communication or anything. Is there any help we can get from the government? Thank you.
All right, all of a sudden everybody wants to talk, okay? Okay. Two more, and then we shall be able to. Pastor?
Thank you. Honorable CS, we are grateful that you found a chance to visit us, to visit your people. My name is Christopher Kiyama, and there is one question that disturbs us so much that I feel that there's a forum that you can help in your ministry. That we find that when we go home or when we are here, we are able to access our bank accounts through the diaspora issues. And when you travel home and maybe you want to apply for passports for your people, you go to the immigration department and you are kept for months before you get your documents. When you go to the bank, you find the diasporas are given a leeway that they do not necessarily have to follow all the queues and lines. That when you go and you belong to the diaspora, you are served very, very quickly. And bearing in mind that you are working in the US, you have no time maybe to stay there for 2 to 3 months. Is it possible for your government to open a desk in the immigration department for diaspora people? I'm saying this because I suffered one time that I applied for passports for my family in December. And I could not get those documents until the following year in December again. And I thank God for the officer that I found there, that she ordered that my file be brought to her. And she told me, Mr. Kiyama, come to my office tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, you get your passport. And I was able to get my passport within a day. So is it possible, sir, for your office to open a desk for the diaspora in the Nyayo House. That will help all the diaspora, not only those people who are in America, but all over the world. That will help us. Thank you.
Okay, so we shall make them very fast. You'll allow me 1 minute each. Ma'am, 1 minute, so we clear this.
Thank you. My name is Jane. Thank you, Mgeni wetu. My question is the same question with the passport. I have the US passport. Can you consider when we have a Kenyan ID to regulate, because I have to be invited by my sister, who I gave all the money and didn't do what I was supposed to do, so to invite me. So consider that crowd that you have to be invited by somebody in Kenya in order for me to visit, because I have property, I have a house, I have money in the bank. So I really don't need anybody. I can take a car at the airport. I probably have a car. Does it make sense? It's considered just that crowd when we are applying for the visa. And when I'm pleading for this, I also addressing it to our consulate so that they can consider, right, don't make it too harsh for us to be invited by the same relatives or friends who are already manipulating us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for this chance. Dr. CS, I remember your leadership in Machakos. One of the things I remember about you is that you're the first governor in Kenya to invite investors in your county to come for investment. And you are thoroughly frustrated. And you demonstrated that on TV and all that. Now, I want to talk about PPP because you have mentioned it. This PPP thing, how are you going to empower diaspora? Because who are these private partners if it's not the diaspora as a unit? So I would like you to set up, I know that time when you were governor, you offered free land for people to come and invest, including the major hall, that you are inviting people to come and build. Now, in the same docket, you can fight for diaspora as PPP to get land. We are able to do housing. Housing is a major thing. I know is one of your docket you're dealing with, and is one of the Dr. Ruto's forum. So, as we are ready to build the houses you're talking about, we just need that land. If the governors are reluctant, can you just provide this land for us and we'll build the houses? Thank you.
All right, I think they're almost sounding the same. Anybody with a different issue? Different is what I want. All right, I'll go to the back if you don't mind. Different is what I want. Why don't the rest of us send, what's the number, madam? Lucy? Send the number to Lucy, send your other questions to Lucy, we'll check this and then the CS will address it.
206.
Thank you, PS, for coming. I just have a simple question, and I appreciate that you recognize the diaspora, that they are the biggest contributors, foreign exchange earners in Kenya. But when we do invest in Kenya, we are paying tax on the amount of money that we invest in, and we are paying tax here on the same amount. Is it possible, if you can, when you go back home and talk to the cabinet, that on what we invest, we should not pay tax on it? Thank you.
Thank you very much. CS, can you take two more? Two different questions. Yeah.
Asante Bwana CS for being here. My name is Eric. Swali yangu ni, there's a gentleman who asked a question in the front about our youth going to drugs and ABCD, etc., etc. And I know that the CS cabinet has a kitty for the foreign diaspora. Within that kitty, is there a way that you can look into employing maybe psychiatrists? People can work directly with our youth here who indulge in drugs and etc. and etc. And lastly, that's for you, Ted. That's for you, Ted. Okay, cool. The last question is that when you apply for, when you're renewing your passport, or if you have a lost passport, the only challenge I see, I tried it once, is the payment part of it. Where if you don't have a connection with the SAFCOM number, your number here, which you should pay through probably SendWave or whatever, it's not possible. Is there a way we can connect that? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I think the issue about the youth was, and this came up also in our conversation with the diaspora, which Ambassador Mai had, was the issue of youth, the generation here losing a whole generation to drugs and depression and things like that. And the question was, is government able to help? I think we'll allow the CS to take the questions, so we are able to prosecute them properly. They are about 15, all right? Even if it takes 5 minutes each, we'll be here again for another hour. Allow him to do this, please. I'm sorry. A lady, so I get a lady has a chance. All right? So, okay, I'll take mom there. All right, all the rest of the questions to 206-308-9312.
Kwa majina naitwa Agatha Kaluki, natoka mahali naitwa Masi. Sasa, my question is about the housing project of the government. Okay, there are those houses they are talking about. Can the CS follow up, because we don't have enough information about those houses they are building in Pangani. Okay, like me, I was a civil servant. I know them. I'm getting the information from my fellow civil servant. As I retired from the civil servant and came over, they are telling me. But we need the government to send people to come and talk to the people of the diaspora, because we have been cheated, as talked before. Okay, those people, there are people who came during the meeting of Q2. They talked about it, but people could not take it serious because they are not getting it directly from the government and tell them what it means, because we might send the money and go to the poor. Okay?
Thank you very much. I'll allow the CS to engage.
Thank you very much. Leo ni leo, eh? Sawa. Basi nitaisoma, nitaweza kujibu kwa mtindo wa chapcha. Wakili Wanjoi aliuliza kuhusu adoption ya watoto. As you know, we stopped the adoption. Right now, there's a treaty that we have not yet ratified. It's a Hague Treaty that stops child trafficking, which makes it very difficult for us to have adoptions, international adoptions, because of child trafficking. So I believe that in a few months' time, if not this coming month, next month, when Parliament resumes, because they're going to go on break and it's not in the list, it will be ratified, we'll be able to sign it, and that will allow us now to go to fix that system of adoption. The reality is ya kwamba watoto walikuwa wanaibiwa na kuuzwa. Unajua ni uzuri kujua. Unasikia mama amepoteza mtoto alienda kwa duka, amepotea nywa, the next thing mtoto anaitwa John Smith. Ameibiwa. Watoto wanaibiwa. So I mean that's a reality. It became a racket. So it was not stopped because there were actually a lot of issues. About the government visas, H2A, H2B, we're having a bilateral discussion with the American government about our visas and about also opening up spaces for Kenyans to come. But also you have to remember, Kenya is no longer a low-income country. We have now moved from low towards what they call low medium, towards a medium-income country. In other words, we are richer than other African nations. As you become richer, you get less in terms of aid and msaada na mambo kupewa. Unaelewa? It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Ndio kwa maskini saa zote naomba msaada, you are becoming richer. So Kenya has moved from huko chini, sasa tumekuja ndio tuende sasa. Unaelewa? So we are in that. So as you move up, some of these other offers are cut off because you've been able to move on. Unaelewa? Hapo nataka tukae huko chini tu. So we had to move up, yes, ndio. Now, about Rosemary talked about retirement and access to accounts. I think it's the things I was talking about, where you can retire, but also you're able to send your money to Kenya. So when you move to Kenya, you can be able to access your money. If you decide to stay here, we're working out modalities so you can be able to draw your money from here. And I want to answer that issue of double taxation also in investment. Each country has its tax regime. In the US, you come from Kenya, invest here, you have to pay taxes. What we're looking at is this. If you come and invest in Kenya, we want to be able to be in a position to give you a window. So we say no taxes for the first so many years, 5 years, 3 years, so that you can establish yourself. Menipata? So we give you a waiver, so can but you do taxes. Only two things are real in life. They say taxes and death. And taxes lazima ilipwe. Sasa kuwadanganya. Issues of huduma number, it's telling, that's an issue that I've had it all over. So that's some of the systems that I said we are going to put into place, together with biometrics for passports, etc., etc. I'm thinking we need to have a diaspora M-Pesa. So you can do diaspora M-Pesa, even using your international numbers. You can register to M-Pesa. You don't have to register using Unaelewa? So we are working, and I'll engage Safaricom, and trust me, within a few months, if not a month, you'll hear from us. We'll announce something for the diaspora in terms of exchange and everything. Swali ya diaspora police itairuka. I was in Saudi Arabia and I saw first-hand what is happening there. What you're seeing and what is happening are totally different. And we'll be announcing. The racket is not actually Saudi Arabian problems, sana in Kenya. There's a lot of cultural issues and processes that are put to understand. It's also big business. For every Kenyan that is taken to Saudi Arabia, the agencies are paid about 350, 400,000. So they're making 100, 150,000. So you take 100, 200 Kenyans in a month, you're making 10, 15 million Kenya shillings. So it becomes biashara. And what they're doing, they're going there, unaenda Pokot, unaenda kule Kinyuyu Ukambani, you take this girl who earns nothing, unamwambia twende Saudi Arabia, you'll be earning 20, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. When the girl goes there, they're supposed to be trained on how to operate a gas cooker, how to operate a microwave, how to operate these rackets at home. Don't train them. Msichana anafika mahali, anachoma nyumba ya mtu. Anaweka kijiko ndani ya microwave inalipuka. Anaenda anachanganya, anaweka viatu ndani ya washing machine. Unaelewa? Because hajaiziona, because they were supposed to be trained, they were not trained. Makosa tu ile greed ya nyumbani, private sector wanafanya hiyo kazi. Rectify. There are other issues. I sat down with the Saudi Arabian government and they told me there is no law. They showed me they don't hold anybody's passport. The passports are being held by the agencies belonging to Kenyans. They are a choice of passports. And the reason they also doing that because they also a racket. There's a big racket going on. Unfortunately, the truth has to come out. Our girls are suffering because some are sent there on order. Wanataka shepi, akifika domestic worker, wanamtoa huyo Mkenya, anaingia kazi ya kuuza wiki. You fall out of status in Saudi Arabia. If you're not legal, you cannot access medical care. If you go to access medical care and you're not legal, they will treat you, but then they will deport you. But because you want to be deported, unakaa nyumbani bila kupata medical care. And many other complicated issues. But we know what is going on, and we are involved, and we are sorting it out. It may take a year, but we'll sort it out. Lakini shida imeanza na Wakenya. Wanauza Wakenya wenzao. That is what I found. Wanauza Wakenya wenzao. It's a racket. It broke my heart. I talked to the women. They told me how they left, how they came, they were lied to, that here you are making 40,000, 50,000, wewe kuja tuonyeshe Waarabu, utaambia kuna make $250,000 a month, utajengia mama kazi nyumbani. That is what is happening, unfortunately. And then there are other abuses that you hear here and there. And then ukitoroka, yule Mwarabu because alikuwa amelipa nearly $500,000 ndio ukuje mfanyie kazi na kulipa, anasema ulimuibia. Otherwise umlipe hiyo $500,000 ndio urudi ufanye kazi, because now they have to look for another domestic worker, walipa. Unaelewa hiyo? So another cultural issue there, back and forth. I'm living here. I'll be in Washington, D.C. I'll go to New York for different meetings, UN Security Council and others. So I'm leaving here tomorrow early in the morning to Washington, D.C. Then after that to New York. Then I go to Korea to receive our president who is coming. We have a bilateral meeting there before our president gets there. He's going to South Korea for an investor's state visit. Now the issue about caregivers, and it's good, you know, but it's an industry. You Kenyans, you're creative, eh? Sindio? Mjipange. Mnajipanga. I've seen Kenyans wamejipanga kwa hiyo industry sana. Umeelewa, eh? Yeah, hiyo industry mnajipanga na industry zingine. We don't just want people coming here to do caregiving. It's very good, you make money, but mjipange, say we want Kenyans to come here also and be pilots. One Kenyans to come here and be doctors and nurses. One Kenyans to come here and be engineers and professional accountants in finance and in many other ways. Yes. The issue of treasury bills and bonds, I think I talked about that, about the Diaspora Fund, and that will help. Now in terms of security of the country, it's a big thing. We discussed in cabinet yesterday, and some of the clips you are seeing are not from Kenya. We eventually found out. If you zoom in, unaona hiyo gari si ya Kenya. But it's alarming. There's been a breakdown in the command structure, especially in Nairobi, of the police, because of the changes that are going on, and that has led to what Kulegea, but they'll be dealt with. I promise you, they'll be dealt with. About elections and voting, we're working on that. I'm one of the posts pushing for Diaspora to vote. Voting. Scholar talked about dual citizenship. It is your right. And I'm going to, when I get back next week, I'm going to ensure that that process is streamlined. And there's no huko. The Constitution of Kenya, and we are a government of rule of law, and the Constitution of Kenya Kwanza says that it is your right to be a dual citizen. Sindio? Si hata Miguna alikuwa anasema I'm not boarding. Sasa yuko na passport ya Kenya. Hii mambo unasukuma Mkenya kwa sababu you don't like what they say. We don't care. And William Ruto amesema, unajua kwa anatumia WhatsApp. Ulikuwa unapigiwa simu unaambia hapana wewe weka kwa WhatsApp. Because unafikiri unasikizwa. Sisi watu wa serikali hatuongee na WhatsApp. Nipigie simu, nobody is listening to your phone calls. Hakuna, Kenya is a free country. Freedom of expression. Tukana serikali, ongea mbaya, do whatever. You know, criticize the government, nobody will come for you. That is your right under the Constitution. That is your right. And we will protect it. And that's what our government is about. We change our food because it is when we criticize the government, that is when things are, because we don't know at times. And so I look at that process and we can talk. After this meeting, see happy, I'm around. You come, we do one-on-ones. Come to hang around, tukunywe chai pamoja, I'll be around for a while. Sindio, wala wanaenda waende, lakini I'll be around. Kuja tusalimiane, then I can elaborate more on some of those things. Mary Mudhoni, you asked about diaspora and all the documents. And as I say, it doesn't matter who you voted for. It doesn't matter who you support politically. Even in this country, you can be a Republican, you can be a Democrat, you can be the Greens. When you go for government services are not given to you according to your political affiliation. They are given to you because you are a citizen. And that is the same thing in Kenya. So you have nothing to worry about. There is no discrimination in government services. You are a Kenyan, you're a Kenyan. And you're given that any benefit that you should be getting. It's sad about the youth and drugs, so I'll get more briefing. So I'll need to get more briefing. But I know I've lived here. I know what wanapotea and all that. It's all about, I said, it's all about the embassy being able to cushion. And also the Kenyan community here, you look very organized. You're able to cushion for the rest of us. Onesimus Musembi, you talked about asylum. It's going to become difficult for Kenya to get an asylum, get asylum in the US. Because you're given asylum out of political persecution and other persecution. Kenya is a democratic country. So you know, it's going to be very difficult to convince the Americans that you are a political refugee. Very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. So, tutafute njia ingine ya kuishi hapa. Supposed to say this, it's going to be very difficult because the American embassy in Nairobi is one of the biggest embassies they have in the world. I think they say it's a fourth or fifth largest embassy with so many officers. They know the political situation. They know the social situation. That's how we use story. But I get the point. You know, it used to be used, but I just say Pastor Kiama, we can talk some more. I like your point about the bank account and everything and being opening. Somebody asked me when I was coming in, I met a gentleman who said that they have a problem also whereby you've got assets here, but our banks don't recognize those assets as equity when you apply for loans. So we're going to see, because I think it's because they can't be able to grab them unless they have a partnership with another bank here, and that bank takes the surety. So we work on modalities to see, but the best thing is, why can't we open a Kenyan bank here? Sindio? Unafungua banki ya Kenya hapa, tufungue banki ya Wakenya hapa, sindio? Unaona tukiwa Nairobi, Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, US Bank, tufungue Kenya bank hapa, ambayo inaelewa kale kashamba kutoka pale Kenya. Sindio? Inajua kale kashamba kwa Kenya, kama namna hii, sindio? Then it's easier to deal with it. But we look at it. Immigration Department, a desk, point well noted, point well noted for action. But also, once we sort out the system, if you come on Nyumbani, you can do all your applications here. You don't have to Nyumbani kuchukua passport. So you don't have to go home and do all those things. Jane, I think I've answered that question. Now, PPP, the Office of the Deputy President has mandated, and he is very keen on this, to work on investment from outside, from the Ministry of Trade, from our development partners, and also coming in. Ile bureaucracy ya PPP tumetoa. Here tuna apply frustration, lazima uone mtu hapana, tunataka chap. Unaingia na idea yako, si pesa yako. Bring the money. Well, let the pesa, why are you frustrating you? We clear those things because Kenya wants to have rapid development. And we know in 5 years' time, Kambi, Kenya Kwanza, bottom-up never worked if it doesn't work. So we have to make sure it works for the benefits of all of us. Now, Madam Kaluki, unajua ni mjanja kidogo, alisema I'm from Masii because she knows I'm from Masii. So it was not just saying, haikusema tu hivyo. She was just telling me, nimetoka kubali, nimetoka. So it's coming from my village. So, but I'm looking at this thing of housing. It's true. Please, if you can invest in housing, and people are talking about this, and we'll bring materials. It's a big industry now. We need to build over 200,000 homes in the housing sector, and the government itself will be able to give you surety that you build those houses. The government will help you sell those houses, or will sell the houses. And it will go through a system whereby there is a non-contractor who is building, or even you yourself as a contractor, you're building. So, and we give you free land, you build, you sell, you make your money. It's a good investment. It was part of the Big Four housing plan that in Promoka, because of lack of transparency, now we revived it. And it is also a good plan for poor Kenyans who live in very bad housing. Because now you'll be able to live in a beautiful home, a one-bedroom home with a toilet inside, with a nice shower, with a kitchen, up to international standards, and you're only paying 5,000 to 10,000 shillings a month as mortgage for the next 10, 15, 20 years. So you own that home. So instead of going to rent a house for 10,000, why don't you have a mortgage for 10,000? And that is where we're going. We're empowering Kenyans. That's our concept. It's called the plan. And the other things that we will not talk about, we are reorganizing Kenya Airways so that it's better. We are joining with South Africa also. We are forming a Pan-African Airways so it can have a bigger, better airline that can come, go all over the world. Because Kenya Airways is hemorrhaging, as you know. And we can't be bailing it all the time. But it is also important to have an airline called Kenya Airways. So we are looking at all those things. I think I've covered nearly everything. I've covered nearly everything. And we can talk, and I've taken extensive notes. We can talk until tomorrow, but these issues never end. Wacha tuanze kazi, and I promise you, I'll come back here, hopefully on a warm day, and we can sit somewhere, tukule kambuzi, tupige stories, mahali tuniambia Mutua ulisema utafanya, na umefanya. Chap. Sindio? And then you're going to do it. Naomba tusimame tu. Tuinamishe vichwa tuombe. Baba Mwenyezi, tunakupa shukrani. Umetuongoza ukatufikisha hapa leo kuongea kuhusu masuala yetu kama Wakenya. Tunakushukuru kwa baraka zako, umetutoa mbali, wengine tumefika hapa leo katika juhudi zetu za kufanya kazi, za kusafiri, za kwenda nyumbani hivi leo, na kuomba utubariki, na ubariki pia familia zetu, na ubariki nchi yetu ya Kenya na viongozi wetu, ili tuweze kujenga nchi ambayo tunajivunia kila wakati. Na kuomba pia uwabariki wale ambao pia wana shida tofauti, hata katika msimu wa njaa, kwa sababu mvua imekatika, tuweze kuwasaidia Wakenya wenzetu tukiwa popote tulipo. Tuomba machache katika jina la Yesu Kristo aliye Bwana na Mwokozi wetu. Amina. Go with the peace of the Lord. Thank you very much. Asante. We are around kwenye chai pamoja, wanaondoka waondoke, but I'm around. Let's have a talk. Let's converse. God bless you.